Today we are focusing on graphing linear equations in standard form. And we're going to call this zero additions because we're specifically going to look at when the zero gets used for a coefficient or for the y-intercept. So let's look at this. Alright, let's look at one example. Let's say our first equation that we're going to work with is 2x plus y equals 0. There's our first zero. What do we do with the zero? Usually we've had a number there. We've had positive integers, negative integers, but now we have a 0. We're going to do exactly the same thing that we've been doing. We're just going to look at it like it's another integer. So first step in solving these is always, step 1 is to move the x value or the x to the other side. Now, I'm saying this in this way, not for math teachers. So all you math teachers, you need to close your ears or close your eyes on this one. I'm saying it in a way that everyone in this room is going to understand. But yeah, essentially we're moving this whole 2x over to the other side. You can't just pick it up. I can't cut it out of the paper and move it over here. We're going to have to do something to it. So it's a positive 2x. There's no negative sign there. I'm going to rewrite this. I'm going to show you in blue what we're going to do. Since that's positive, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to subtract it. So we're going to subtract it from both sides now. So 2x minus itself gets rid of it. We get to cancel the 2x. That's gone now. So we're left with plus y, positive y. And what we've been doing in the past, we take this right here, we bring it down right here, negative 2x. And if that was a number other than 0, we would say plus that number or minus that number. But since it's 0, we're just going to put plus 0 here. And there's a reason why we're doing this. So if we look at this, this is put into slope-intercept form, which works out really conveniently for us. Slide that up there so you can see that. So what we're able to determine from this is that the line crosses the y-axis right when y equals 0. And it has a slope of negative 2. Let me actually just write that down. So we know our y-intercept is 0, or the point 0, 0 on the y-axis. We also know that the slope is negative 2, which if we write that as a fraction, negative 2 over 1, or down to the right 1. I'm going to draw a graph here, draw the xy plane. If you're drawing this at home, you should use a protractor or ruler or something to get a straight line. Mine aren't entirely straight, even though I try to freehand. Alright, so I'm going to do some tick marks here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I generally use 4 just for the sake of space. Sometimes you have to use more depending on where you cross the x or y axis. Always remember to label that axis with a y and that one with an x. Always label your axis or axes. The Latin is axes. Okay. Now we're going to plot this. So we said our y-intercept is 0. We have to find 0 on the y-axis. Right here is actually where 1 is, and then that's a 2, that's a 3, and that's a 4. And this right here is negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. 0 is right here at the center. So that means we're going to put a point right at 0. That's our y-intercept. Our slope says we go down 2 and to the right 2. So we go down 2 and we go to the right 2 to this point. We got our next point, and now we're going to draw a straight line right through those 2 points. I'll try my best to freehand this point. There we go. Got it? And the last thing we need to do is always label the line. 2x plus y equals 0. And to know where I got that from, that comes from our initial equation right there. 2x plus y equals 0. I just rewrote it next to the line. So here's our line. It has a negative slope, so it's going down to the right, and it crosses the y-axis right when y equals 0. Alright, let's go on to our next example. Number 2. Line it up. Alright, number 2. So the graph, or the equation for this one, is 3x plus 0y equals 6. Now there's a 0 next to y. That's interesting. Would we always see it this way? Probably not. Probably in a textbook or on a test, you wouldn't see it like that. They wouldn't even write the y. So an alternate way of seeing it, this is an alternate way of seeing this equation. It would look like this. It would look like 3x equals 6. They wouldn't even write the 0y. We're going to do it here just so you can see it pronounced, so we know what to do with this and how to move it around. Alright, so our first step is always move the x to the other side. I'm not going to rewrite that step. We did that in the last one. We're just going to go ahead and move forward with it. So you have 3x plus 0y equals 6. And we're going to subtract 3x. And when we do that, let's cancel. You have 0y equals negative 3x plus 6. Now that's in Y-intercept form. Question is though, is this right? I want you to really think about this. There's a 0 there, and there's no 0 there. There's actually, if you don't see a number next to y, there really is a 1 right there. What do? We can't say that 0y is equal to negative 3x plus 6. We actually have a problem here. This is not going to work for us. So even though every time before we've seen something in standard form and we have to convert it to slope-intercept, this time it's just not going to work. So we're going to have to think about this. Like, alright, we can't have 0 and just change it into 1. You can't just add a y out of nowhere and just say, oh, I'm just going to make it work, because this is not going to work. So we're going to have to look at this alternate way. The alternate way is really what's the most important part. This alternate way, we'll bring it all the way down here. We're going to look at what we can do with that. So I'm going to rewrite 3x equals 6. Now there's no y here, but it's okay. We can still work with it. Let's try and get x by itself. So to do that, we're going to divide by 3. So that cancels the 3's. We got x by itself. 6 divided by 3 is 2. Alright, that's what we're looking for. Can I ask you what's the y-intercept? What do you think it is? Maybe it's 2. I don't know. Maybe it's 1. Nope, it's none of those. There is no y-intercept. It's not in slope-intercept form. So we're going to say y-intercept. Let's just say, let's put a big X there. Nope, there's no y-intercept. Alright, what about slope? Is there a slope? Should be thinking by now, wait a minute, it's not even in slope-intercept form. How am I supposed to figure out the slope from that? You're not. There is no slope either. Or at least not for the sake of what we're doing right now. So, what we're going to do, we're going to draw the XY plane. Make sure you draw the Y, the X, the little points. Always get those little points in there. Tick marks. Alright. And we're going to label this as 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can do the other ones, but just for the sake of this, we're going to find where x is equal to on the x-axis. So when it says x equals 2, look on the x-axis. So we're going to look on the x-axis. It's 1, 2. We found it. So we know it goes through that point right there. What we do with that is it means that it's x equals 2 everywhere. So it's x equals 2 here, it's x equal to here, here, all the way up and down. So that means we found ourselves a vertical line. So when you have x equals something, it's going to be a vertical line. Meaning it's going to be an up and down line. That's when it's x equals. Alright, so we got through something with x equals. It has 0 y component. So if you look over here, like I said, 0 y. We tried to put it into slope-intercept form. It did not work. So we had to look at its alternate form and go from there. Now we're going to look at what happens when x is 0. Let's turn the page here. And our third example is you have 0x plus 4y equals -8. Alright, so we could go through slope-intercept again. If we did that, let's do that real quick. Let's try it. Or, no, let's look at its alternate form. Before we do that, alternate form. So instead of writing 0x, we're just not even going to write 0x. We're going to write 4y equals -8. Because why write anything when it has a 0 next to it? Seems kind of redundant. So that's its alternate form. And as you probably figured out, we're going to come back to that. But let's try this in slope-intercept form. So you have 0x plus 4y equals -8. You subtract 0x from both sides. Seems really weird, but hey, why not? So those cancel out, and you got 4y equals -0x minus 8. That just, as a math teacher, is like driving me nuts. A -0 doesn't really work, but I'm just going to go through with this. Divide by -4, divide by +4, divide by +4. 4's cancel, and you get y equals -0/4x. What is that? 8/4 is 2, and you have negative, so it's -2. What is this? This is not even good. A slope of -0/4? No. We can't do that. My mathematical brain is just going crazy right now. We can't do this. So that is bad. You can't have a -0. 0 is just 0. A slope is 0. That's really, we're not there yet. So we will get to what that looks like. But at the moment, I would never ask you to graph this. We're going to look at this by looking at its alternate form. So let's draw a nice fancy arrow to its alternate form. There. Color it in like I do. That arrow kind of got weird, but whatever. Drew it too fast. I think my pens are dying. For any of you out there that want to buy me pins, I would gladly accept these pins right here. They're the Pilot G2 0.07 millimeter. They're amazing pens, and they work really well on this, and I'll give you credit on a YouTube video. Alright, that's the Easter egg, by the way, for all my students. Let's see. Alternate form was 4y equals -8. Alright, we gotta get y by itself. Divide by 4. Divide by 4. Cross. Y by itself. And what's 8 divided by 4? That's right, it's 2. The negative sign, it's the only sign there, so it's negative. So y equals -2. Got a little bit of space on right or left, let's choose the right. Okay. So we have this here. It's a crooked y-axis, but y, x, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. And you have -1, -2, -3, -4, -1, -2, -3. Alright, I wrote the negatives on both sides because I want to make sure that you know which axis to put this on. So since that is y is equal to -2, we look on the y-axis. So here's the y-axis. Find -2. It's right there. Put a point there. -2. Now, what you have to do is you have to alright, no matter what x is, y is -2. That means when x is 1, y is -2. When x is 2, y is -2. When x is 3, y is -2. No matter what x value it is, even if x is -3, y is -2. So no matter what x value, y is always -2. That's what this means. It means no matter what x is, it doesn't matter. Y is always -2. So it's a straight line across. So it's a horizontal line. It's a horizontal line. And just to compare to our other notes, it means the line's going straight across. If you ever get confused with horizontal line, just a little side note, this was taught to me back in 4th grade. A teacher drew this little line like this, and she drew the sun. And here's the sun, she said, and here's mountains. And she said, okay. She's like, the sun sets and rises on the horizon, right? I was like, yeah. She's like, well, that's the horizontal line, horizon. I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. I still didn't understand why vertical is called vertical, but whatever. You figured it out. We know how to graph this, so you're good. Those are the 3 instances. We looked at when x was 0, when y was 0, and when the number to the far right on the other side, the equal sign was 0. So have fun, and I'll see you guys later.